Hi guys, hope yous are doing alright as always. First off, I'm just gonna apologise for the quality of the video. I usually record on my phone. I'm currently recording on my laptop because with my phone it normally only records up to around about 15 minutes, give or take, just because of the memory, I think. So I'm using the camera on my laptop, which just isn't as good. So I apologise because I feel like I might just rant for a bit in this video, so it might go over the time. So sorry for that. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is something that I have only talking about once on the channel, I think. And sort of as the episodes kept coming out, I sort of slowly stopped tweeting about it as much as well. So that's class. And I think the only time I did talk about it on the channel was when I did the "We should give class a chance" video, or why we should give class a chance, before it came out. And the reason why I haven't spoke about it since, and why I sort of went silent on it on Twitter as well, because it's just not very good. I just don't like the show, and I know there's quite the people who like it are very avid about it, and more power to you, because I really wish I liked this show. It'd make life a lot easier and more enjoyable, probably. But there we go. I just don't like it, and there's there's parts in it that are really good. There's a good show in there somewhere, but for some reason they just couldn't get it. It's like I'll be watching episodes and I'll go, "Oh, that's good," and then it just goes back to everything else that I don't like. So the problem, I think, is because obviously the question now is it going to get a second series, and it's highly unlikely, because like the cast and everyone involved is sort of tweeting to sign petitions, and if they you'd probably know they would probably know, if sort of an inkling, they would have had conversations, they'd know if it was probably going to happen or not at this point. So it's probably highly unlikely that the BBC have said anything about it if they're doing that. So, but there is always a chance, and I think the issue is that the show they were advertising was completely different to the actual show. It's different because they were saying, like, before it came out, like Patrick Ness and all the cast were saying that, it's new, it's sexy, it's right now. It wasn't any of those things. Um, it also just wasn't the show they were saying it was gonna be. Like Patrick Ness was talking about how it's like the drama of, you going through your exams at the same time of, aliens attacking, so you've got the stress of the exams and all that going on at the same time. And I was like, that could really work. And there's just none of that. There just really isn't any of that. I don't think they captured the sort of vibe and essence of them being in school and going through the exams. I didn't think they captured that well at all, which is quite funny considering most of the screen time it's set at Coal Hill, and I just don't think they captured that well at all. So it's a strange one, but I just don't. I like, in the final episode, I think it's the finale, when we see, at the opening scene, April says, "Oh, this is like my favorite teacher," I think, and I don't remember seeing him throughout any of the series beforehand. And if they if this was the show that they were advertising, we would have seen that teacher before. We just would have. We would have seen more teachers. We would have seen more of the school life, and they just gave us none of that. So I think that was a disappointment for me. But like I said, there are good episodes. I'm not going to touch on all of them because, I haven't got the time, and I've not got enough good things to say about any of the episodes, so I won't just bore you with all the bad things. So I'll talk about the two best episodes of the series. And I think that is so far removed from what they said the show was going to be and what the show ended up being. These two episodes are different to both of them. So those episodes are, I believe it's called Detained, and then The Metaphysical Engine, or What Quill Did, which I think is great because it's like Patrick Ness just probably didn't know what to call it, so he just went with both, just The Metaphysical Engine, or What Quill Did, if you prefer. So I quite like that. But Detained is quite funny because it's I think it's the second best episode of the series, but it is the main. It does one of the worst things that the whole series does that irritates me to no end, and I think this episode's the worst episode for it, even though I think it's the second best. Some of the writing is really bad. Like, people just don't talk like this, and I think this episode is the worst culprit for it. About half of the dialogue in this episode, it's 50-50 with this episode, which makes it even more frustrating because there'll be a line of dialogue and I'm like, that's really good, I'm into this, and then just a line that just no human would say happens, and it just doesn't work. But I do like the episode, I think. But it's frustrating because one of the parts I really like is Charlie's panic attack. I think that's Greg Austin's best performance that episode, and the whole peppering it throughout the episode. You can see him getting more agitated, and his anxiety is just picking up throughout the whole episode. When it finally happens, it's really well done. And then Mateus, the way he interacts with him, everything is done really well. Which is then when just the dialogue doesn't hit, makes it even more frustrating because there's good things in that episode. And then I think What Quill Did is the best episode by far in the series. I I like Catherine Kelly. I sort of hit and miss on Quill throughout the whole series, but she's very good in this episode. And this episode is so far removed from what the show is and what they said it was going to be. And it's the best episode, and that's a problem because it's very good. Some of the ideas are very inventive, and what I feel like the issue is because those two episodes are directed by the same person. So I think maybe if the whole series had one director with just one set vision, it might have ended up better because you can tell he's got a set vision for those two episodes, and I think he does it very well. Another good thing about the whole series is the music. I do think the music is pretty decent, so I will say that. But if it should get a second series or not, the first thing I would have said was yeah, like there's good parts in there, there's a good show in there somewhere. So if they can pull that out and just push all the good things and build it around that, then I think it would have been worth the shot. But the more I've thought about it, is no, I don't think it should get another series. Especially, this is obviously just me just thinking if it's stopping another show from getting made, which as far as I know, I don't think it is. But if this is stopping, just for example, like a Paul McGann spin off, if it's stopping something like that, then absolutely no chance. Get it gone because there's just no comparison. And I do think I don't think it is going to happen. I don't think they will get a second series. Which I mean, the cast are good for what they're given, so I don't blame the cast. So if it does get a second series, I'll watch it. I'll sort of trepidly go into it and hope for the best. But it's worrying that the cast are tweeting out the petitions and stuff like that. So I don't think it will happen. But like I say, if it's stopping another spin off from happening, then no chance. Get rid of it because especially if it's something like an Eighth Doctor spin off, which I've talked about, and everyone knows my love for Paul McGann. So there's just no chance of it stopping something like that from happening. But also, I'm going to talk about the finale for a little bit, just because I really don't like the finale, and I'm not going to talk about all of it, but one particular part that just annoyed me. I was watching the episode, and I remember thinking it's when Quill and Tanya are like in the hall, and she's like, "Oh, well, teach me to fight," and I was like, "Oh, well, they're not just gonna be doing that for 15 minutes and then the Shadow King are going to come and Tanya's going to be able to kick ass. That's just not going to happen. And then obviously that is what happens. So that annoyed me to no end. I don't know why. It's not even a major thing, and it just bugged me for some reason. But what I will talk about is like the end. Right, I'm not even going to talk about the actual ending because I find it so stupid. So I'm just going to not talk about that. So the governors, right? We finally meet the governors, and the weeping angels show up, and I think, right, it's such a misguided choice to put the weeping angels in what they've sort of set this sort of scene as for why they're there. It's so misguided. I feel like it was, I don't know if it was Patrick Ness or the BBC who, like, right, we'll put a Who monster at the end for series 2. It'll bring people back in. I don't know what the thought process was, but if you were gonna put any Who monster there, do not put the Weeping Angels, because I mean the sort of farm that they had in the Angels Take Manhattan in the hotel, that was a push for me. That was sort of as far as I would go to why they would do that. I don't think that they would have a farm. That was sort of the limits. I'd go, okay, I'll accept that. But this, like the working with people, I don't know. Like obviously I'm assuming they had some sort of idea of where it would have went, but I just can't see how any idea like that would have worked. Like it feels like, because the Weeping Angels are just as synonymous with Doctor Who as the Daleks and the Cybermen are now. Like I feel like if you were to just walk up and just anyone on the street and just say name 3 baddies from Doctor Who, they would probably go the Daleks, the Cybermen, and those like crying angel things. So I understand the decision to go, right, we'll throw them in, but it's so misguided. Like I just don't know where it would have gone. It baffles me, that choice. It really does. And they're just not the monster to have as a big bad of the series. Like obviously the Shadow King, you understood the goal and why they were doing what they were doing, whether you were into it or not. You got it. The Weeping Angels are just not the baddie. They're just not the villain to do over a whole series. They're just really not, because that's just not how they work. It just wouldn't work. So I really don't understand that. So that's another thing on why I'd probably not have a second series, just because of that. I just think that choice is so misguided and sort of encapsulates the whole series for me. So, like I say, if you like the show, I really wish I did, but I don't, sadly. And like I say, if it does get a second series, I'll sort of tentatively tune in, because there's good parts about the first series, and like I say, the 2 episodes that I quite liked are quite good compared to the rest of the series. So if they just focus on that and try and get away from what they were sort of trying to pan the show as, then I think it'd be a lot better for it. It's just whether it's going to happen or not. So what I will what I will pick up on, just while I'm doing this video, is just so I don't need to do another video on it. So the main talking point around the whole community at the moment is obviously whether Peter Capaldi is going to stay on. Do I want him to stay? And should he stay, are 2 very different questions. Like if you were to ask me 3 odd years ago, whenever it was, Peter Capaldi gets cast, and if you would have said to me, does Peter Capaldi need to leave the show for the show to be good again? And if you were to have asked me then and told me you would say no to that, you would say no, I would have gone, obviously he doesn't need to leave for it to be good again. And here I am, and he does. Sadly, he does. I don't want him to go, but he needs to go, because whether you like the series or not at the moment, the general consensus is, and I feel like with the sort of general audience, is they are establishing the bad episode quality with Peter Capaldi. No fault of his, that's just how it is. He's the Doctor, he's the front man. So if people aren't enjoying the stories, he's the person. Because most general audience don't know who Stephen Moffat is. They probably don't know who Russell T Davies are. They don't know the inner workings of the show like we do. So they're looking at Peter Capaldi, and there's just this automatic stigma. So if he stays with Chibnall, there's already baggage there. So I think he does need to leave, and it's really sad because Peter Capaldi is very good as the Doctor for what he's given. He's very good, and I feel like if he were to stay on with Chibnall, he'd do a very good job, and it'd probably be his best series just because of how fresh it'd be. But he does need to leave for the show to be good again. It's like if he's compromising the show to reach its peak again, he just has to leave. Like the two best series for me are Series 1 and Series 5. Now, whether that's because it's all fresh and new, I don't know. That's probably a part of it. So if Capaldi staying doesn't mean the show can reach another Series 1 or Series 5 level, then he's got to go, sadly. And the problem is, Series 10 just needs to hit it out of the park. It really does, because if it's the same as what Series 8 and 9 have been, and whether you like them or not, we will look back in 10 years and we'll look back and go, let's look at the Peter Capaldi years. Peter Capaldi was the Doctor. Yeah. Like, will we say meh to Peter Capaldi as the Doctor? Like, it's insane. So hopefully Series 10 absolutely crushes it, because I really don't want Peter Capaldi's legacy to not be as great as it could be, because he's so good. He's probably in the top 3 best actors to play the Doctor. Not necessarily the best Doctors or the best performances as the Doctor. Just he is probably up there with just the best actors to play the Doctor. He's such a good actor, and I don't think the show is working to his potential at all. So hopefully, if he does stay, like I say, it's probably going to be good. He's going to be good as always, but he just needs to leave with Moffat, sadly, because the show is sort of stuck in a rut at the moment, if you ask me. And I think Peter Capaldi, as much as he's trying, he is a part of it. So he does need to leave. And it crushes me to say that, because he's so good as the Doctor. And when he was first announced, before Series 8 even came out, I was saying he could be the first person to match or break Tom Baker's record of the longest Doctor. And now he's got no chance. If he does stay with Chibnall, he'll only stay for the first series at best, and then he's gone. So he's got no chance now. And I thought he was the only actor that was going to even get close to Tom Baker. So I don't think his record's ever going to be beaten at this stage. So to go from that to this, it's quite sad, really. And I really hope Series 10 sends him off on a high. If he goes on a high note, then I feel like it sort of redeems him when we look back. We'll go, yeah, I mean, he started off a bit bumpy and everything like that, but that last series, it really honed in on Peter Capaldi's talent and built the series on that. So I really hope that happens. And I do think for Series 11 to be as good as it could be and just let Chibnall have free reign like Russell did and like Moffat did in their first series, I think Capaldi's got to go. Sadly, that's just how it's got to be. Anyway, thanks for listening to me the vet moan basically just for about 20 minutes. So it is a good thing I did it on my laptop. Again, I apologise for the quality. I might do more videos like this in the future if I just want to rant about things. Let me know in the comments if you like Class. If you do, let me know why. If you think it deserves a second series, also let me know. And if you think Capaldi should stay on as the Doctor, and if you do, let me know why, because I'll probably agree with most of your points, because I do like the man very much. But let me know on everything I've talked about. Let me know your opinion. And yeah, thanks for listening. And I've got nothing else left to say. So I don't know what my next video is going to be. I've got a couple of things floating about, so I'll just see what happens there. and yeah, I'll see you next time in whatever video that may be. See ya.